The reorganisation of Worcestershire councils will be the largest local government reshuffle in over 50 years. It represents a defining moment for our county, one that offers either the opportunity to deliver better value for money to residents, or conversely, the risk of seeing parts of the county pushed involuntarily into becoming an extension of an urban city. The stakes could not be higher. The required aims of the new council organisation are clear: financial sustainability, good value for money, high quality services, and an ambition of continued improvement. These are not abstract aspirations, they are the practical foundations required to protect our communities and safeguard essential services. Looking at the two options ahead of us, there is only one that will achieve these wants and needs of the local community. That is one unitary authority. A single united structure that provides the clarity, efficiency and the strategic strength necessary to meet the challenges that lie ahead. It is acknowledged that a recent survey... I will give way.
Mr. Chairman, just to get his thoughts on what he was trying to achieve. And does the honourable member not agree that local government must be efficient, accessible and accountable, and that consolidation is worthwhile but not at the expense of preventing accessibility to services? And hailing from a rural constituency as Strangford as I do, whose constituents do not have access to local government, I would support the honourable member in his quest to ensure that this is a priority in any restructure.
I thank the honourable member for Strangford for his intervention. I agree wholeheartedly. I think the risk of disaggregation and loss of access to sustainable services, particularly for rural constituencies, is a profound risk in any case where local government is being reorganised. It's acknowledged that a recent survey was shared around Worcestershire, and I'd like to thank those who responded. Local consent should always be a priority throughout any devolution process, including a local government reorganisation. However, the results showed a clear split in opinions across the county and must be considered in context. 48% of respondents supported 2 unitary councils, 29% supported 1 unitary authority, and 19% did not support any reorganisation. Yet the number of respondents, 4,200, represents only 0.6% of Worcestershire's 621,000 population, making its true representation of Worcestershire as a whole questionable. In short, it's a snapshot and not a consensus. Worcestershire is a rural county with approximately 85% classified as so. It's a picturesque county with a seamless mix of small urban cities, semi-rural towns, rural villages and uninterrupted green space. No less in my constituency, which is 79% rural and 89% greenbelt. Serving the needs and wants of the vastly different aspects throughout the county is a delicate balancing act. However, it is a balancing act that allows Worcestershire to be so wonderfully unique. It is a balancing act that allows my constituents to enjoy beautiful country walks and quaint villages on their doorsteps, alongside the convenience of a more urban town or city not very far away. This harmony between rural tranquility and accessible urban life is part of what makes Worcestershire a fantastic place to live. It is also a balancing act that would be toppled by the forced use of a city template. A model designed for incomparable metropolitan areas cannot be imposed onto a county defined by its large rural character without causing catastrophic disruption. Keeping decisions local to Worcestershire is vital. It's the only way to ensure local communities are not sidelined, and that my constituents' voices are not stripped away, and that the fabric of rural life is not sacrificed. Counties shaped by their rural character are rightly proud of their identity and traditions. Any local reorganisation that happens in Worcestershire must be in recognition of and respectful of our distinct needs.
My friend give way.
I will give way.
I'm very grateful to my honourable friend and neighbour in Worcestershire. He's making a very strong argument about the risks of having a north and south divide, where the north could be subsumed into Greater Birmingham. And this is a very, very important point. But is he as surprised as I am that of the district councils and the city councils across Worcestershire, that only Wyre Forest was the only council to actually advocate for a single Worcestershire unitary authority rather than having the split model?
I am surprised, but I think it has to be seen in the context of the survey that was conducted that I've referenced already, that it's only a very small proportion of the Worcestershire population that has responded to any consultation as to what the future options may be. And I will make reference later on to the wider stakeholders that are in fact supportive of a single unitary authority to deliver local government in the best interests of residents across Worcestershire, including Wyre Forest. The creation of 2 unitary councils would do the opposite of respecting our distinct needs and the opposite of respecting the rural identity of Worcestershire. It would see the North Worcestershire section become by default an extension of Birmingham and would shift our identity fundamentally. North Worcestershire is a neighbour of Birmingham, but is proud to be part of the adjacent countryside that so many Birmingham residents enjoy. And conversely, North Worcestershire enjoys a proximity to Birmingham, whilst maintaining its unique rural character and slower pace of life. A divided structure would only weaken our voice, dilute our identity, and place our future in the hands of those who do not understand us. One unitary authority is the only option that protects Worcestershire's integrity, strengthens its governance, and secures its long-term ambition for prosperity. Many residents across Bromsgrove and the villages have chosen to live there because they value the way of life in our towns and villages. And that valued identity must be protected from being merged into an urban extension, or even treated as a subset of an identity that has existed for generations and delivered a footprint for successful local government service delivery until now. We're already at risk of urbanisation from, and our local democracy is already being eroded by the unprecedented housing targets being forced upon us despite the consistent local objection. As a 79% rural constituency composed of 89% greenbelt land and approximately 8% brownfield land, our housing targets have increased by 85%. Meanwhile, Birmingham, our neighbouring city, with at least 140 hectares of brownfield land and extensively established infrastructure, has seen their targets cut by over 30%. If we were to involuntarily risk becoming an extension of Birmingham, it's highly likely that our precious greenbelt would be sacrificed even further. The character of our county, its landscape, identity and rural heritage would be placed at real risk. Yet, despite this loss, it would still be the urban areas that would continue to receive the largest proportions of infrastructure investment, leaving my constituency questioning how it can be expected to absorb the growth when infrastructure is already at capacity. It's the urban areas that have the highest demand for housing precisely because they're urban, which is why urban densification remains the housing policy that is most genuinely representative of the public's needs and wants. When providing a common-sense counter to central government decisions, such as unreasonable housing targets, one unified voice is essential. A single coherent authority can speak for the whole county, representing all of our views and standing the strongest chance of securing greater funding for transport, housing and economic development. Multiple voices drown each other out. A united voice is often harder to ignore. Alongside ensuring that decision-making is kept local to Worcestershire and that my constituents are not stripped of their voice, an action that would run counter to the very principle of devolution, a one unitary council is also the most sensible financial decision. It protects local democracy while strengthening our ability to shape our own future. Financial sustainability is vital for any council. Across the country, we've seen many councils begin to struggle with rising costs that inevitably become the burden of the British taxpayer. Without a sustainable model, residents pay the price through higher taxes, reduced services, or both. My constituents already experienced a 4.9% increase to their council tax this year due to increasing financial pressures and are set to face a staggering 9.9% increase to Reform's county council in the next financial year. A single financially resilient authority is the most responsible way to safeguard public money and ensure that essential services remain secure for the long term. I will give way.
My honourable friend has been very indulgent for me. One of the interesting points which I suspect during the survey that wasn't taken into account would be the fantastic cost of splitting up all the county-wide services which range from adult and children's social care through to waste disposal, to divide that into two and then to merge all the district authorities. That in itself would be an unnecessary cost if we go with the two authorities rather than one authority.
I agree with my honourable neighbour, member for Wyre Forest. He makes a very relevant point that the cost of organising two councils will be profound and in the long term will prove to be a false economy, and the figures that I will shortly quote will demonstrate that further. Reorganising local government will not resolve all of the financial challenges facing our communities, because even with structural change there will continue to be rising demand on adult social care, persistent pressures in homelessness and temporary accommodation, a growing resource need for schools and increasing demand for children's services. That is why financial sustainability must be by design and not chance. Anything less will fail to meet the increasing needs of local communities, and will ultimately result in deficits that must be paid for by hard-working residents. Financial sustainability cannot be an afterthought, it must be the foundation. One Council will have the ability to follow 6 key principles to achieve genuine and lasting financial sustainability. The first one being reducing the cost of leadership and governance by redesigning leadership from the ground up to reflect the needs of a new modern unitary authority. The second, becoming prevention-focused by embedding a long-term, independence-based approach across all services, enabling people to get back on their feet and easing the burden on local provision. Thirdly, ensuring that all commissions are intelligent and that services provided are appropriate and necessary, supported by the unparalleled buying power and market access afforded to One Council, enabling strategic investment in better value services. Nurturing an accountable and high-performing workforce by bringing together the strengths of 7 predecessor authorities and building on their collective skills. Delivering responsible custodianship of public assets to maintain a balanced budget, safeguard the continued delivery of local services, and preserve our historic culture. And finally, making decisions that are fully informed and grounded firmly in evidence. The outcome of this approach is simple: £32 million saved by 2031 and a more balanced, less impactful increase to council tax. In comparison, the imbalance between service need and income from council tax would be significant under 2 unitary councils. The new North Worcestershire Unitary Council would face substantial challenges with higher levels of need but a smaller share of the tax base, whilst a South Worcestershire Unitary Authority would experience significant council tax rises over the same period. It is simple to understand that improved financial results lead directly to improved services for the community. With the stronger position created by One Council, services can be delivered through a more community-centred approach with simpler, more accessible pathways. Residents will no longer need to navigate multiple tiers of local government to resolve their issues, and this is particularly beneficial for individuals who require access to multiple services at once. This model not only increases transparency and improves local access, which are distinct components of British politics, but also will ensure that policies truly reflect what people actually want to see and what they expect their council tax to support. Streamlining service delivery under One Council removes the risk of a postcode lottery, where access, cost, sufficiency and quality vary depending on where residents live. This is especially vital for young people, as many schools are reaching capacity, so students are being required to travel further, and for rural communities that are already facing limited infrastructure compared to more urbanised areas. Key people services, including housing, family support and social care, are currently delivered across 2 tiers of local government, creating complexities and inefficiencies that are unnecessary. This is particularly important in Worcestershire, where demographic shifts are significant. An ageing population exceeding the national average, with 22% of people aged 66 to 84, alongside a growing younger population of more than 117,000 children. These trends place profound pressure on essential services such as GPs, hospitals, schools, nurseries and social care. One Council could integrate these services so they work cohesively to achieve better outcomes for the community. A prime example of this, relating to the population demographic previously mentioned, is the ability to align health priorities with housing and leisure, enabling preventative policies that improve quality of life and reduce later pressure on health services. Removing duplication across services would also increase efficiency in the Council's overall offering. It would allow organisations, including local NHS trusts and schools, to build stronger, more consistent relationships, as they would be working with a single, unified authority rather than navigating multiple structures. It is evident that One Council would be able to deliver the improved and simplified services that my constituents call for. The risk of disaggregation also cannot be ignored. The concentration of need for high-cost social care, the service that 42% of survey respondents quoted as the one that they care about most, lies in one half of Worcestershire, whilst the greatest proportion of the tax base is in the other half. That current degree of balance that results in residents paying relatively low tax would be disrupted, and that would create long-term instability for both households and essential services. Not only is the disaggregation of social care a dangerous risk, but it would also set back the progress so far made on bringing its functions to the high standard that it is. Adults will be at risk of not receiving seamless community care, service deliveries and assessments will be delayed. Children's services will be restricted to boundary lines, causing disruption to those not on the correct side for their current care, a postcode lottery. Maintaining 2 recording systems for social care would be costly and take a long time to implement, diverting resources away from frontline support. Similarly, fragmenting the network of partnerships in Worcestershire would only complicate funding arrangements, commissioning plans, service eligibility, and the ability to install an action plan. These partnerships have already taken years to build, and dismantling them would undermine the very foundations of effective care. Instead, intention should be towards preserving and building upon relationships, with closer collaboration far more possible via a single service provider rather than numerous tiers. And this is a key benefit that only one unitary council can provide, ensuring continuity, coherence, and a system that works for every resident across Worcestershire. Furthermore, a proposal for a single Worcestershire unitary authority has been backed by local partner stakeholders, including the Police and Crime Commissioner, the local NHS Integrated Care Board, Worcester Acute Hospitals Trust, the Worcestershire Local Visitor Economy Partnership, and commercial stakeholders including Worcester Bosch. Looking to the Ministry of Housing, Communities and Local Government's criteria for devolution arrangements, it's evident that the proposals for a single unitary council meet the requirements of the Ministry. The case is clear and compelling. A single council for Worcestershire offers not only operational simplicity, but also a renewed sense of purpose for local government in our area. The One Council will prioritise the delivery of high quality and sustainable public services to residents. This is not simply an organisational reshuffle, it's a commitment to ensuring that every community, from the most rural parish to the most urban centre, receives services that are consistent, efficient and good value for money. Councils in the area have sought to work together in coming to a view that meets local needs and is informed by local views. This collaborative approach demonstrates a proactive start and an ambition to both adapt and build a structure that is reflective of its residents' realities. One Council will enable stronger community engagement and deliver genuine opportunity for neighbourhood empowerment. By removing unnecessary layers of bureaucracy, residents will have a stronger voice and a more direct relationship with those making decisions on their behalf. It will make a single tier of local government for the whole area, thus making it simplified and more accessible. The new structure will be resizing to achieve efficiencies, improve capacity, and withstand financial shocks. In an era where public finances are becoming increasingly overwhelmed, the ability to operate with greater resilience and strategic oversight is essential. It cannot be doubted that one unitary council will significantly meet the set of criteria outlined by the government, whilst also ensuring that it's in the best interest of Worcestershire as a whole. Keeping decisions local is vital, achieving long-term financial sustainability is vital, offering consistent high-quality services is vital, and protecting our Greenbelt and county's identity is vital. That is why I strongly support the creation of one unitary council that will streamline services, improve value for money for residents, and work towards a strong future for Worcestershire. This is an opportunity to shape an efficient and community-centred system for our local government, one that respects our current identity whilst preparing us for the challenges and opportunities ahead. A single unitary council is not merely an administrative preference, it's a strategic choice for a more secure, more coherent and more prosperous Worcestershire. Thank you, Chair.